we are already aware about employment generation scheme. For example, Manrega, Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act. Okay. Now, the thing is, when you talk about Manrega, it gives employment in the rural area, right? It does have reservation, or you can say, fixed amount of employment which is to be given to women, right? But the issue is that it's only for rural areas. Why it came for rural areas? Because of course there was a need, right? The idea for Employment Guarantee Acts is to reduce poverty, to have more inclusive growth, to reduce inequality, to reduce unemployment, so on and so forth. So for rural, we have that, we have Manrega scheme. There is 1/3 of you can say positions reserved for females, but now we will be moving towards employment guarantee in the urban area, for women. And that is why a proposal for Women's Urban Employment Guarantee Act, right? So for this we need to understand why Women's Urban Employment Guarantee Act, as in what is the need for that. Once we understand that, then we will see what is the proposal for Women Urban Employment Guarantee Act. You can write this as WUEGA. So what are the proposals for it, and then what will be the impact of it? At the same time, how will you be implementing it? Alright, so we will see why is there a need, or what is the need for this. Secondly, what are the proposals for this, and at the end, what will be the impact, as well as how you will be implementing the Women's Urban Employment Guarantee Act. So first things first, why the need? So if you will see, when you talk about unemployment in urban areas for the females is higher than unemployment for the females in rural areas. So female or women unemployment, if we talk about unemployment rate, if we talk about, it is higher in urban areas than rural areas, right? Now one reason can be because we already have guarantees, employment guarantee scheme for rural areas, but it is not there for the urban areas. That's point number one. Point number two, rural areas consist of a lot of jobs in the agricultural sector, wherein probably the skill requirement would be lesser. More unskilled jobs will also be there. So what is happening? When you talk about an urban woman, an average urban woman, if you are talking about, you will find that they have skills. Let's not say higher skills, because a skill is a skill. So you can say they are more skilled, as in more percentage of urban females are skilled as compared to the percentage of rural women. So they have more skill. At the same time, they are willing to work, right? But still you have higher unemployment in urban areas, and the rate of employment, if you see, is very low. Rate of employment is very low. It is approximately 23%. Approximately only 23% of urban women are employed. So that is one thing. Now, why is this the case? We are seeing that they are having more skills, they are willing to also work, but then why still is the rate of employment so less? That is because of issues like social norms. Now what do we mean by social norms? Social norms as in for example, the social status of females in the society. For example, the restrictions, social restrictions on females in the society, right? Women may not be allowed to venture out for jobs. That is one thing. Females, if they are getting jobs in another city, in another state, let alone another country, forget it. We are just talking about other state, or not even another state, but other city also. They may not be allowed to switch the place or to relocate for jobs. Not just that, even if the job place is at a farther distance, 10-12 kilometers, traveling, late night traveling, when you're coming back from office, all those things are not there. So what are we talking about? There are restrictions for, first things first, there is restriction from having a job itself. Restricted to do a job. Now, if some of the families are allowing you to do the job, then you are restricted from relocating. At times, if the distance is too much, you are not allowed to travel. Then you have a particular time limit that you should be back home by this much of time. So if it gets late, that is also an issue. So because of all these social norm related restrictions, the participation of women in employment is lesser. That is one thing. So secondly, what happens is, why these restrictions are happening? Why these social norms are there? Because they think, not just think, because that is a fact also, that there are safety concerns. Safety concerns. Now, since there are safety concerns, since there are acts of harassment and various other things, it is not that we should be stopping the females or women from working, rather we need to address those issues. Right, that issue needs to be addressed at a governance level, at the implementation of law and rules level. But when you talk about the families would be what? Having the safety concern and hence not allowing to go for jobs, right? Apart from that, there is another reason. What happens is, let's say after marriage, before marriage the woman is working. After marriage, probably their in-laws are not allowing them to work. That would again probably come in social norm, right? At the same time, after childbirth, they are not allowed to work, or they do not work. At the same time, during the childbirth, during pregnancy period, there can be a gap. There can be a gap. So because of that gap, the skill will be broken, there will be a gap, and if you leave the job, getting a new job after a gap again becomes difficult. Plus, there is also lack of transportation facilities, right? Lack of transportation facilities. Now we will say no issues, Ola, Uber, cab, autos, these things are there, but these things are costly, right? So if you are paying so much, what will you earn? So you may rather have to take a local train if it is available in the city, or a metro probably, or buses. Now when you talk about metros again would be costlier than local trains or buses. But when you talk about buses, what will happen? They will be too crowded, right? As a result of which you would say there is a lack of transportation facilities, especially for women. For the entire population themselves, because it is crowded, but especially for women, because in such cases you see also issues of harassment going on in public transport as well. So again, that again piles up to the social norms or how the society behaves, but it's a separate issue of lack of transportation. So social norms, lack of transportation, social issues, under social norm, all these factors are there, which has resulted in low employment rate for women. Since there are low employment rate for women, that is why we are coming up with Women's Urban Employment Guarantee Act. So now let us see what are the proposals for Women's Urban Employment Guarantee Act. So the proposal says that we need to mandate the participation or representation, mandating the representation of women. Now these are just proposals which have come. When the rules will be drawn, there may be specific rules and regulation with different percentages and all. So when we say mandating representation of women, what probably we are talking about some amount of reservation of women in the field of employment in urban areas. That is one thing that can be done. Apart from that, even if you provide that, we talked about issues after childbirth. So what you can have is child care facilities at workplace. Second is child care facilities at workplace. Now we also talked about transportation. So good transportation facilities. And not just good transportation facilities, it goes on to talk about free transportation. Free transportation. You may know the case of Delhi wherein all the women were given free public transport. They can travel for free in the public transport. So that kind of a thing can be provided. At the same time, travel for longer distance itself is an issue. You know, you will be coming probably late. Again, that will hamper due to social norms restriction, right? And safety concerns. So what you do is providing employment within 5-kilometer radius, so that your workplace is not quite far from where you live. Now, in addition to this, what you provide is the information center facility. Information center facility. Now, what this facility will do? Information center facility, as in the women are aware of where jobs are, sort of a portal wherein all the jobs for women in the urban sector, you know, are mentioned over there. So you know what profile you have, what skills you have. Based on that, you can apply for those jobs. So that is why information is very necessary. If you do not have the information that at certain place, certain company jobs are present, you cannot apply for them, right? So that is why information center facility is also a must. So these are the provisions that are being talked about. Now, when we talk about mandating the representation of women, now, of course, urban women are, you know, majority, or let's say a high percentage of urban women have skills. But at the same time, we are talking about mandating the representation. So without skills, or if there is a mismatch of skill, we just like that, if we mandate representation, that would be a concern. So to address that, one more thing it talks about is skill development. Skill development in required area. Now this is very important. With respect to skill development, there can be two issues. Number one issue is there is no skill. So if you don't have skill and there is a job which requires skill, you cannot do it. That's one way. Second way is the job is there which requires a skill, but you have a different skill, right? So you would want to search for a job of your skill. That is one thing. Or second thing can be, if the jobs in your own skill are not there, it is very scarce or it is becoming difficult, you can skill yourself in some other skill in which the jobs are available. That is why you are talking about skill development of people who are unskilled, women who are unskilled, and skill development of women in the required area for which jobs are present. This is going to play a very important role because it is going to match the skill that is required and the skills that the women have. So these are the proposals of your Women Urban Employment Guarantee Act. Now, what impact will it have? What impact will it have? See, the thing is, since the percentage of labor force participation or workforce participation of the females are low, that is why it is said that the GDP of India is actually lower, meaning it would have been higher. GDP would be higher if there is equality in workforce participation. There is equality. Which equality? Gender equality. So you may find over 60% of males employed, but less than 30% of females employed. So if the females are also above 60%, what will happen? 30% more females will be participating and be part of workforce participation, part of workforce, right? Because of which what will happen? More goods and services will be produced. That means the final value of the final goods and services will increase. That means what? Your GDP will increase. So when you talk about the impact would be increase in GDP would be one impact. Then secondly, all the other things will follow. There will be reduction in inequality, reduction in poverty, reduction in hunger. All these things will be reduced. Also, certain surveys also suggest that when a female starts earning money, there is a higher impact on increase in the standard of living, increase in the health, nutrition of the family, of the children, so on and so forth. So all those benefits will also follow, right? Now, we have seen what the impact will be. Now let us talk about how can it be implemented, or the implementation of the scheme, of the act. This needs to be implemented or rolled out in a phased manner, phased rollout. For example, there is no need to roll it out throughout the nation. Ultimately, that is the point, because it will be a central sector scheme. Some governments, some state governments do have that, but there is a need to have it as a central sector scheme by the central government throughout India. So initially, it can be rolled out in a phased manner. There can be pilot projects, pilots that can be done in certain regions of different states, and subsequently state-wise it can be rolled out as well. Before that, when you are rolling it out, skill development should be pre-planned. Skill development should be pre-planned, because so that whatever the economy requires, whatever skills the economy requires, the women possess those skills. The matching of that is very important, or else you will suddenly mandate people to have XYZ percentage of females in their workforce, but the pool of female with particular skills may not be there. So two very important things: prior skill development. Skill development should already start beforehand. There should be pilot projects for that, and it should be rolled out in a phased manner, right? So right now this is just in the stage of a proposal, right? And a discussion have been initiated on that. Let's see where it takes us.